How's it going, folks? And welcome to my bedroom. Is how I should never ever start a video ever again. I'm sorry about that, everyone. It's been a couple of weeks now since my last video, which, if you didn't see, was the definitive best films of 2019. There are no other lists that are correct. Mine's the only one, so go watch it if you haven't yet. And in that video, I promised a top 10 of the decade between 2010 and 2020. This isn't that video. So, well, I mean, you already know that. The title of this video isn't that. So, it's taken a little longer than I thought it would to work that one out and get a list which I was happy with. So, that's coming later. Right now, it's time for some other content. So I thought, in the spirit of making other content that isn't that, I would do some catch-up videos, because there are a whole bunch of films towards the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020 that I saw that I never put full videos out for because I'm lazy. So grab yourself a cup of something. I've got green tea. I'm on such a green tea binge at the moment, you wouldn't believe it. Join me as I take you through some thoughts on some films that came out and it existed. Let's start off with 1917, which was undeniably a film. This is the latest film from Sam Mendes, a director I admire. He's done some amazing films. It's set during the war. I like films set during the war. Cinematography by the one and only Roger Deakins, perhaps one of the greatest DPs of all time. But it kind of pains me to say, didn't really connect with it at all, to be honest. That may come as a surprise to you, because when you click on anything related to 1917 at the moment, it's probably going to be like, whoa, that was crazy immersive. What a wild immersive film.
Immersion.
I didn't really feel that immersed in much of this film at all, to be completely frank. But I don't want to feel like I'm just shitting on it, though. This film has got a lot of good things going for it, and I do think it is a good film overall. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a bad film. Production-wise, this is undeniably a total achievement, and it should be fucking celebrated for that. Roger Deakins is probably the only award I would say is definitely warranted to get. It looks beautiful, and the coordination that went into this film to pull it off is, honestly, it's kind of amazing. But honestly, outside of that, there's genuinely nothing else in this film that really blew me away. It is only the look of the film which made me go, cool, that's worth thinking about. I don't want to be accused of falling into the camp that's saying that this whole one-shot thing is just a gimmick, because I don't think it's just a gimmick. I think it's one of the good things about the film, and it does have its merits. I definitely think it makes you anticipate what's going to come next around the corner. It's always making you watch around a frame. It does all of those things really well, and I think those are the things it does effectively for a war film. But I always find that the one-shot, continuous take films can often feel quite theatrical, and for some films that definitely works. Say, for instance, Birdman, it's set in a theatre, so the theatricality of the whole one-take style doesn't really feel like it's at odds with everything else in the film. But this one's slightly different. I really felt the theatricality of it got in the way of me enjoying it as a war film. But I always felt like I was conscious of the fact that these actors are trying to hit their cues, and everything's got to be in the right place, and everyone's just sort of going through blocking and lines and scenes that they've rehearsed to no end to get this to work. Which sounds like a strange critique, because they absolutely, of course that's what's happened. It's the only way to do this. But it did get in the way for me. It made it all feel theatrical. It only ever really worked for me when there was just George Mackay, who was amazing in the film, to be fair. When it was just him on screen and it was him going through the action pieces, I found myself enjoying it a lot more than when it was him interacting with literally any other character, because none of the characters in this film felt believable. The screenplay, I think, also has a strong part to play in that. Wasn't very good. Very jarring. Every 20 minutes, an A-list actor would walk in for 2 minutes and give them a little bit of plot or something, or say a line that could be construed as a message or theme about the film. Never really felt much threat towards our lead characters. This person needs to get from here to here. A couple of people are probably going to shoot at him. Let's see whether it happened. Wicked. Amazing. I just didn't really connect much with anything in this film aside from the technical accomplishments that are obviously there. Kind of forgot about it after a few days. Haven't really thought about it since I saw it. Don't think it was anywhere near deserving Best Picture. Those are my thoughts on 1917. Clank sound effects. Next one to recap on was Le Mans 66, or Ford v Ferrari, depending on where you are in the world. Le Mans 66 is just much more fun to say in it, so let's go with that. It is also the name of the film here in the UK, so that makes a bit more sense anyway. This one I missed at the film festival, and I kind of never really had much interest in it. I don't know why, because everyone in it I like, the director I like. Again, in kind of much the same way as 1917, it was just kind of one of those films which I saw, and I haven't really thought about since. I do think it is an interesting story, and the performances are solid enough to make it work. It feels like the most sort of, I guess, classical of the Oscar nominations this year. It's just kind of, yeah, alright, it's good. When they were racing, that shit was cool to look at. I totally got why it got sound nominations, because, I mean, the sound of this film is kind of like, whoa, I'm in a bloody car right now, aren't I?
Ah, you know your cars.
Really puts you in the driver's seat, so to speak. Fuck. It was quite charming, but it was also an incredibly predictable story. I mean, I know it is based on a true story, but it did feel like scene to scene, I never really felt like it was surprising me in any way. The emotional beats of the film didn't really hit me as much as I think it was trying to. There's a scene where Christian Bale sits down with his son on the racetrack at dusk. The sun's going down and he's like looking out, and it's meant to be this nice emotional, inspirational scene. He's like, look out to the horizon. Do you see that? That's winning the race or something, whatever he says. Done a little of that to me. Just looks like a sunset, mate. What are you smoking? Felt like it thought it was more inspiring than it actually was, but it was a good time. I enjoyed myself. The race cars went fast. Can't believe that is going to make it into this video as a positive for Le Mans 66. Ending was weird and very quick to me. I don't want to spoil anything, but the last 10 minutes of this film did feel like, well, we've wrapped up everything else in the film, but we kind of haven't finished the film, have we? So just throw everything there and no one will worry about it. It was just like, oh. And then that happened? Could we had a bit more time on that? It was alright. Completely alright film. Is it best I can say for Le Mans 66. The next film to catch you guys up on is Little Woman, which I was incredibly excited to see and was one of my most anticipated films of last year. It was great. Directed by Greta Gerwig, who is, in case you didn't know, an objectively amazing person. But I feel like when it was announced she was doing Little Woman, and you see the trailer and it's a period piece, I don't know, but I kind of felt like in my own head, I was wrong for thinking it, but I kind of got into that headset of like, I'm very excited for it, but I feel like it's going to be quite conventional and I'm going to enjoy it for that. But I ended up enjoying it for much more than that, and I'm sorry that I ever doubted that you couldn't do that. Greta Gerwig's Little Woman. It does an amazing job of balancing the kind of tradition and I want to say cliche, but you know, the convention of the genre of the period drama, whilst also feeling like a completely new and current look on it that could have only been directed by someone like Greta Gerwig at this exact current moment in our time. I find that duality well interesting. I just loved it. I found it incredibly wholesome. I was crying, I was smiling. Everyone's great in it. Florence Pugh continues to have the best year ever. Saoirse Ronan was great as usual. Timothée Chalamet was great as usual. Laura Dern was great as usual. The whole cast of this film is just, yeah, great as usual. Yeah, great as usual. Yeah, great as usual. There were some people online that were like, I couldn't keep up with the time jumps. It's thrown the timeline off. Has it, fuck? It was well easy to keep track of. It's coloured. It's warm. And then it's cold. It's not hard to keep track of. Although I do have to say it took me a little longer than I'd like to admit to work out that they were playing 13-year-olds. They sort of, there's a line where they're like, oh, you're 20 now, 7 years later. I was like, oh, that does explain a lot about their performances. Florence Pugh as the 13-year-old version of her character in this film, I could watch that maybe forever. But this feels similar in many regards to Lady Bird, but also like a director sort of honing her craft really well, which is a very cheesy and cliche thing to say about a director. But it's true. I guess if Lady Bird felt like Greta Gerwig sort of, I guess, kind of like playing around a bit as a director, this one feels like she's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it really fucking well. The blocking of this film was amazing as well. I mean, the different spaces of the film with the characters moving around it, it was just incredibly engrossing, every aspect of this film. Cracking film. Yes. And that is it. Those are the 3 films I wanted to catch you guys up on today. I'll do another one with some more films. Nothing gets you excited like that. But, as usual, what about you, Buster Jenkins? I saw what you did behind the shed on the playground on Tuesday, you piece of shit. No, have you seen any of these films I talked about? If you have, there are some comments below. See you guys for another catch up very soon, but also for my best of the decade list, which I promise is coming. Gotta keep that hype going, you know? Got to keep the hype going, you know? Hope you have a lovely rest of whatever day it is that you're watching this, unless it's Tuesday. No one likes Tuesdays. It's just, no, where does it stand in the week? At least Monday is the beginning of the week, and you've got that. It's not even Wednesday yet. It's already been Monday. It's still early in the week. The week's going too slow. Fuck Tuesday, man. Tuesday can suck my ballsack.